Well, let's shift gears now. We've talked about 468B, we've talked about structured settlements. Let's get to a point in a case where we've hammered out the settlement. Perhaps there's going to be a structure where we're going to fund everything into a 468B. We've taken care of confidentiality. Now, we as attorneys have the opportunity through the tax code and through an 11th Circuit case, Childs versus Commissioner, to structure our fees. And this has been going on since the 1980s. Of course, the most common product is the same product that our clients use, although it's taxable and it's an attorney fee when it's finally paid, an annuity. But I'm finding, at least with the lawyers I'm working with in Cook County, more and more lawyers are structuring fees, and there's a benefit to it. BJ, why don't you speak to it generally, then we get some of the specifics.
Yeah, I mean, really, the benefit that you guys have to be able to do this, really piggybacking on what the clients can do, their structures. There's no other profession that can do this. There's no limits, there's nothing. You get $1 million fee, you can defer $1 million. There's no 401k rules or anything like that. And the benefits are amazing. I mean, to the basic story that I always tell, let's say you get $1 million fee and you don't structure or defer that fee, you have $600,000, give or take, that you can go after taxes and give to your investment guy to do whatever it is that you want to do with him. But then the difference is, if you do structure your fee, and let's just throw a common one, probably the most common deferral that we do is the guy will defer it for 5 years, not take it for 5 years, and then pay it out for the next 10. Okay, so what happens is you have that full $1 million working for you for that first 5 years before you actually have to pay taxes on it, because you do not have to pay taxes on it until you actually receive the money. We have guys that defer it out 15 and 20 years. So there's all these different benefits. And it's hard to, how do you quantify that extra $400,000 that you're essentially leveraging the government's money? Well, let's just say that your portfolio earns 7% a year. That's what the portfolio does. But what is it really doing for you? Because you have the benefit of kind of borrowing that extra $400 for the time being. The taxable equivalent on a 7% portfolio is about 12.5%. So it's that extra 5.5% that yes, the portfolio is doing 7%, but it's really doing 12.5% for you. So you guys can do the math. I mean, the numbers can be staggering if the deferral is set up the right way.
Again, I think the case was the Childs case at 11th Circuit. The IRS challenged attorney structures. We attorneys, the Childs party won in that case. The question then becomes, when we're talking about an assignment and periodic payments, are there other products available other than traditional annuity products?
Well, there is now, and we've done. At our firm, we probably did $60 million in attorney fees over the last 4 or 5 years in the traditional annuity route. And I can tell you, if we had a better product, something that offered the chance for higher returns, we would have done 5 times that. And so what happened was, about 3 years ago, we kind of started the process. And when you really analyze the Childs case, which is the seminal case that allows attorneys to defer their fees, the IRS didn't care at all what the actual product was. It just happened to be that in the Childs case, it was an annuity that was used. But the IRS didn't care what paid them those fees. They cared about the fees in the future and what if the guys were going to have to pay taxes now or later. So now we have a product now that allows the attorney to basically pick whatever kind of portfolio that you want. You can take on as much risk as you want, be as conservative as you want, and what happens is we have our partners, our money manager partners on this are Goldman Sachs, Credit Suisse, RBC, and what happens is, right before you settle the case, you end up working with one of those money managers on what you want to do, what you want your money to do in the future. And all of that gets worked into the release language and those kinds of things. But it really, the reaction that we're getting from the plaintiff bar is amazing, because here's this product that, right now, that common deferral that I talked about, 5-year deferral, 10-year payout, if you did it the traditional route, it's gonna, maybe if you're lucky, it's right around a 3% rate of return that you're gonna get. And now, you can take on a little more risk, or you can have Goldman Sachs come up with some, a moderately aggressive portfolio, and you have the upside now. You also have downside too, because nobody knows what's going to happen in the marketplace. But you now have the option, instead of just the standard fixed annuity, you can do anything.
And who's serving as the assignment company in that transaction?
Kenmare Assignment Company it's the only independent assignment company out there. It's in Ireland. As you guys know, if anybody in here has done deferrals in the past, whether it's Allstate or Prudential or Liberty Life, all the assignment companies are offshore in Barbados. So Ireland was chosen as part of the same tax treaty that Barbados is, and they speak English. So that's really the reasons why Ireland was chosen. And really the only reason why that those life companies chose Barbados was because it was part of the tax treaty, but it was in the Eastern time zone.
And it was formerly a pirate zone.
Yeah, exactly. And, yeah, there's good diving, a lot of different, right, there's a lot of different extra reasons, but, and if you truly understand the mechanism of structures, I mean, whether it's the client or the attorney, the assignment company is involved, and the assignment company is what owns the actual investment, and then you have a contractual obligation, whether it's you or your client. So, and ultimately, it's funny because this question was posed to us from one of the life company people, like, hey, theoretically, I'll just use Allstate as an example. Allstate International Assignment Company could purchase any investment that they want. They just happen to purchase Allstate annuities because they're affiliated. Prudential's assignment company buys Prudential annuities. Hartford. They all have their own assignment company. But theoretically, that independent assignment company can purchase anything that it wants. It's not tied to, as we talked about earlier, with the defense brokers tied to different insurance companies, these assignment companies are tied to their own as well. So that was the assignment company, the independent assignment company was the key in this whole thing, that kind of the wild card that allowed all these other portfolios to be created.
What's the risk to the lawyer? So take your example of $1 million, and now you've got the government's $400,000 to play with for 5 years or whatever your deal is. What if you decide to be very aggressive and you blow it? What
In a deferral?
Yeah, in the deferral. What is the exposure? Is there any additional exposure under these new products?
Well, you do have, like if you choose to, so you're saying if you take $1 million fee and you want to be really aggressive, it could go up 45% that first year, but it could go down 80% too. I mean, so ultimately that's you're exposed to the risk that you choose. Is that where you're going?
But it doesn't change your tax liability.
If you had it in after-tax dollars and you had the same risk profile, you have the same.
It's exactly the same, right?
How does it work practically with this? You defer many cases. Does it all go into one pot, or is it a different account for each case?
Yeah, we have a lot of guys, a lot of people that we have probably the most. We have one guy that's done 9, and commonly what these guys will do is they'll have a goal, like an ultimate goal, like I want $50,000 a month for the rest of my life when I turn 60. So they'll just keep structuring little amounts here, big amount here, little amount here. Technically, they all have to be separate structures or deferrals, but they're all really the same. Just keep adding on to it to get to that goal. So they have to be separate. You can't just keep putting, like say your 401k, just throwing another $50,000 in. It has to be separate because each one of them is written up in that specific settlement that you got the fee.
And separate statements coming in from different people every month or something like that?
If you may do 10 of these in the next 3 years, but they're all the same company. Theoretically, you'd get all of a sudden one day in your bank account, you could get one deposit. It could be set up so you don't get 10 separate ones. It's all coming from the same place. It's just consolidated into one, but that's just they have to be separate and they're accounted for separately.
I want to aggravate myself. What was the year that this child's case was decided?
It's in 1994 or 5.
So it's since 94, 95 that this was available.
Well, the attorneys have been structured in 1980, I believe, was the first one. And then it just happened to be, and that was the child's case, that's when it was finally decided. So the IRS never has liked attorney structures. They don't like the fact that attorneys can do this and nobody else can do it. And they fought and they lost, and then it was appealed and they lost again.
So it was the 1980s?
It was the 1980s.
Now it can really be aggravated.
There's a product I saw actually through your company, Brook, because we're talking about aggressive portfolios or less aggressive portfolios, but one where they cap the gain at 10% and they cap the loss at 10%.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different things out there. Goldman Sachs, who we work with, does a lot of what's called structured notes. And we have a lot of attorneys that love these because it is. A structured note can be tied to the S&P 500 or the Dow Jones 30 or currencies. It can be tied to something. And what they do is they'll give you like an upside up to a certain point, and they'll cap the downside also. So you can still go and be aggressive, kind of like what you were talking about. But maybe you're capped at 25%, but your downside is only 10%. So there's a lot of ways you can roll the dice and be really aggressive and have no protections, but there's ways to kind of protect it also.
So I'm looking at some of the new tax laws, and I think we've talked about the fact that our clients get hit by financial planners and impressive financial planners who don't know anything about structures, and they talk your client out of structures, and here you got somebody who's disabled for the rest of their lives. So, of course, they're tax-free, we attorneys aren't, and I've got a financial advisor who's telling me, don't structure your fees, Tim, and now he's also saying to me, there's going to be changes in the tax law, you're going to lose the benefit. What's your response to that?
Yeah, that's a question that we get all the time now, and we always hear, whether it's tax rates or changes in the tax law, they could, the new laws can come out at any time, but we try to, it's impossible to predict. Now, if an attorney, let's say Tim and Don each struck $1 million under the current laws, and 5 years from now, they could change the law and just say attorneys can't do this. Whenever they do this now, what would happen? The worst case scenario for you is, for the attorney is, you get your money back, with what you have in it, and you pay the taxes like you would have anyways. They can't come in, the IRS can't come in and assess penalties on this, because in order to assess penalties, you have to have willful and wanton trying to avoid certain things. You're following current law. So really the worst case scenario for an attorney, if the law's changed in the future, is you just pay the taxes like you would have had to anyways.
When you set one of these up, when you're doing like a traditional structured attorney's fee, it's set to say this, you're giving them $1 million, but when the payments are happening, so the agreement is kind of set up at the beginning. When you're doing one of these more managed accounts, how is the payment structure set? I mean, is it when you're doing the agreement, the settlement agreement, that's putting all the terms, are the terms for the payout set then, and it's just you're subject to
Yeah,
changes?
good question. I mean, it's an example, let's say you go with that aggressive portfolio again, and it's in a whole bunch of things, and you do the 5-year deferral, 10-year payout. The way that it is, we don't know what a set dollar amount's going to be in that year 6 when you get your first payment. So what happens is there's 10 payments that you're going to get from year 6 to 15. You get 1/10, and this is the way that it's worded in the language, 1/10 of what that portfolio is worth, on that day when it's time for your first payment. And then next year it's 1/9, then 1/8, 1/7, 1/6, and, you know, all the way down the line. So it's a set percentage of your portfolio, but not a set amount. But it could also be set up where you have set amounts. We do that sometimes with guys with laddered bond portfolios.
Sure.
So you know exactly what's coming at a certain time.
Worst case scenario though, would you ever be in a situation where the client is at least indemnified for a $0 return? I mean, if there was no money paid, you agreed to this, but the client technically owns you under a contract 33%. And if you don't get any money because there was a fallout from Goldman Sachs, what liability is there then for the client that they haven't paid their fee?
For the attorney or
Yeah.
for the, yeah,
Well, they've taken the fee at the outset.
Taken.
yeah.
So, I mean,
You've assigned-
you're investing the fee at the front end, so the client's.
I guess in the terms of the deal, it's such that you're agreeing that your fee, so to speak, is being paid by the client, but it's being paid to this person?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Similar structure.
Right.
BJ, right now, Brook Hollow's offering this product. Is there anybody else offering this product?
No.
Great. Any more questions on attorney fee structures? Okay. Don, is there anything you'd like to add to the discussion?
No, it was more invigorating than I was hoping it. I would go with similar. But no, it's very good, thank you.
BJ, anything else?
No, I'm good.
And tomorrow, if anyone wants to come back, Matt Garrettson of the Garrettson firm will be here, and Matt is a specialist in Medicare set-asides, among other things, and sorry he couldn't be here today, but if you're interested in those issues, we'll be talking a lot about Medicare tomorrow, so thanks, everyone.
What time is that?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
1:30.
Thank you.